What happened? Before moving on, I have to say that I do think that the Fast and Furious franchise is one of my favorite franchises of contemporary cinema. I enjoy those movies very much. Before watching this movie, I went back and saw every single one of the previous movies, and I had a great time watching them. They were very enjoyable. What happened to this movie? What happened? What happened with this movie? This movie. So F9 is basically about. You know what? Never mind. That is not. This is not gonna be basically a basic review. This is basically gonna be a rant on the movie. I don't even need to tell you what's the plot of the story because if you've seen the trailer, everything that you see in the trailer is in the movie. Like everything. They went to space. Okay, maybe I might lose my mind in this video, but we need to like okay, let's focus on one specific area. Then Cipher as like a main threat for the next movie, and she was barely in this movie. Her in the title, like in the title scroll, her name title has more screen time than she does. She has nothing to do in this movie. And I actually thought she was a great villain in the last movie. She had clear motivations. She was clearly someone who was very like able to stand her ground and go up against this team. Think positive. One positive thing that I could say about this movie is the relationship between Tej and Roman. They do have screen times together and also one particularly is Ramesses. She does have a lot more to do in this movie. She actually have a few funny moments and she was really good in this movie. But let's talk about John Cena for a second. You see this poster right here? You see the expression on his face? That is the same expression he has throughout the whole movie. And another thing, when the Wayne Johnson was in those movies and he was riding a vehicle, he was always riding a huge truck, but he's a really big guy. In this movie, John Cena is just as big, but he's driving a little truck. And so or a little car. And so when you see him, he's like this driving the vehicle. Like that, you see some big dude who barely drive. I'm like, why are you driving the car? With Hobbs, at least they give him a big truck that how when he drives normal instead of driving so damn close. Like he has little room to drive on, like in like John Cena's case. I'm like, when you say when I see him drive, I laugh. I'm like, oh my god, like how did you even get in the car in the first place? And this movie bring back characters that doesn't really need to come back, like Mia's character. Like there was actually in the previous movies they had a code and where when someone has a family of their own, when they have kids, you don't bring them back to missions. And this movie they do briefly mention it, but it glossed over like nothing. And the same thing goes for Han. Han's death in the franchise was when you know that the movie took itself a little bit too serious because Han's death in the franchise was a very important death scene. His death shows it really does shows the weakness or a dark side in these franchises that things that the stakes can get high. But he is brought back and there is literally no justification or it makes no sense. It opens up with the Universal logo, but it's from like 1980 because when I saw them like oops, I stepped into the wrong theater. Like they take what Dom said in the first movie that actually is the 20th anniversary for that movie, The Fast and Furious, which came out in 2001. They took that premise, the story that he said in there, and tweak it a little. I have to go back to the first one. I'm like, wait, what did he said in that movie about his? It's like they grab one of my nephews and be like, hey, write something with crayons and we put it on a big movie because whatever happened here is something like a 10-year-old will come up with or see or reunite with the Tokyo Drift cast. I actually am a fan of Tokyo Drift. I enjoy that movie very much. But what happened with those? Like Lucas Black is so skinny in this movie. Bow Wow, whatever. He didn't look nothing like him. When I first, it took me a while. I'm like, wait, who is he? I looks familiar. He looks so fat and deformed. What happened to him? And one thing that I don't hear many people talk about is how this movie very clearly sets up for an all-female spin-off movie, trying to set up for an all-female spin-off movie, and because maybe these actors may not have a job once this franchise is over. Now we're gonna get to the big problem with this movie. So, fasten your seatbelts. So, in the previous movie, clearly is not meant to be based on science. They defy gravity, they do a bunch of crazy stuff and not get, no injury or anything like that. But in this movie, they just go out full on bonkers. Like, there is no tension in this movie. The fact that they brought Han back from the dead, who is a important event in the previous movies, shows you how much threat these people are in. And in this movie, it's just so insane. It's like they're on pill, like, ooh, I'm like, you should be in pain. You should be like, it's ridiculous the stunts in this movie. Like they went full out. What the drive through mines, and but they say like if you touch the mine you got 2 seconds to drive over it, but then if you drive over the same line one behind another but yet it doesn't explode, and if the car do explode, it explodes just right after them and they don't even fly off, and a bunch of other stuff. Those movies. But in this one, people like you have to shut off your brain. No, I shut off my brain, and even my brain was like, "Wait, that makes no sense in this movie." By the end of the movie, I didn't shut off my brain. I felt like I was a freaking zombie in this movie. I was like, like trying to like understand what the hell is happening. I know these movies are not supposed to be taken seriously, but this movie, they did it. They actually did it. They went to space. I was kidding. It was a joke. When the fans were saying, when the fans were saying that the next movie they were going to space, what do you mean? Literally, it was a joke. But this movie didn't. They didn't. They thought we really meant it. No, no, and it was boring. Literally. Oh, and it had no. I wouldn't be. I would be fine with that. But you have to set it up. You have to. I will appreciate if they at least try to go into space a couple times and fail, and maybe in the next movie they go into space. But at least set it up. This movie, no. What they did is that they visit the Tokyo Drift crew, and then they use a rocket car, and then next you know, like 30 minutes later, because that's how long this movie is, they just go into space. But it's not really explained. It's just they just do it, and they only do it for plot convenience to shut off this stupid satellite who's gonna do something stupid, and it's just all stupid. And when they do go into space, it's not even action packed. They just stand there in space because it's boring. So it's not even the fact that they went to space. Like they didn't did anything with that. It's the dumbest thing, and I cannot believe they did it. I was kidding. When the fan says that the next movie they're gonna go into space, it was a joke. You weren't supposed to literally send them to space. What, you're gonna send them to Mars? Oh god damn it, in the next movie you really are gonna go to Mars. And for me specifically, who was a diehard fan of the franchise, who enjoyed every single of the previous movie, and like I said, I saw every single one of the movies before watching this one. It destroyed my love for the franchise. I don't give a fuck about the Fast and Furious movies anymore. I don't care about this franchise. This movie ruined it for me. It's I cannot believe how bad this movie was, and I was a fan of the franchise. I loved every single one of the previous movie. This movie just like there was no stake. This one doesn't. They turned bringing Giselle, and that Giselle was part of Mr. Nobody as a season. That she was a secret a spy, and she wasn't. She served Braga. She was who was a crime lord. She wasn't a spy agent undercover. And the plot of Han took place in Tokyo Drift, which was 2006, and so that was and that even happened before Mr. Nobody met a Dominic Toretto, really knew much about him. So why would he recruit Han? It doesn't make any sense. It like this French. These movies were meant to be escapism, not meant to be brain damage. I just really don't understand. This movie makes no purpose to me. I'm going crazy right now. I gotta take a break or something. Okay, let's talk about something real quick, which is escapism, which is one of the reasons why I think most people will try to defend this movie. See, in this movie, these franchises in particularly are escapism, in where you just go to a movie theater just to enjoy what's happening on the big screen, and you don't really have to put much thought or much interest in the movie. You just enjoy whatever's happening on screen, and you just forget about real world problems for a short period of time. You go to a movie theater and you don't worry about payments, you don't worry about bills, you don't worry about deportation, you don't worry about, you're gonna get killed tomorrow. You don't worry about none of that. You just go to watch a movie and you forget about the world. And so many people are saying that this movie is just another one of those type of movie that is meant to, you turn off your brain, you don't really think much about the plot, you just enjoy it for what it is. Even though this movie takes the second half of the movie, goes crazy, and it's just insane, but it doesn't make any sense though. But all of a great example of what I'm talking about is the previous movie that I reviewed, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark. That those movies are also escapism movies, but those movies, what Raiders of the Lost Ark do is that you really do care for the main character. You really care for Indiana Jones and his company. Uh, you do want them to succeed, and also there is a moment in where they can be killed. They can be, stakes can raise up uh, to a level, and but each movie doesn't raise it to a completely different level. It's not like in Raiders of the Lost Ark he was up against Nazis for a certain thing, and then the second one it was bigger the world, and the third one it was the universe. No, it was just simple events that had just happened, and those are escapism for me. That what escapism is, and where I forget about my problems, my personal conflicts of the world, but I watch the movie and I care about theirs. I care about what's happening in front of me. And the Fast and Furious franchise did a great job for those in the previous movie. I did care for the family. I did care for the team. I care for the events that they have. That's why it's an escapism for me. That's why I consider an escapism a movie that's an escape. So that is my rant on this movie. Uh, and but one thing that I do want to know, because this movie is being successful, I don't know why. If you are one of the billions of people who likes this movie, please comment down below for me. Tell me what it is that makes this movie so good. And I guess you can say it's escapism. It's shut your brain. You're not supposed to think on it. But you heard my argument for that of how that's. But I am curious to know for the people, for the billions of people who are enjoying this, who enjoyed this movie, what did you enjoy about it? And are you a huge diehard Fast and Furious fan like myself? Like, if you are a huge Fast and Furious fan, uh, and you enjoy this, really let me know what is that you enjoy. Did you enjoy the retcon and the disrespects of the other movies? Like, please let me know if you actually enjoy this movie and what's enjoyable about this movie. Honestly, watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's so much better than this movie. But anyways, that's my review for this movie. Hope you folks enjoy my rant and my mental issues that I have with this franchise now. Uh, and I have to watch something different, so I'm gonna have to set up a. I'm gonna release another review very shortly so I can, you know, free myself from this mess. And we are out of here.